Welcome to the ParentLife Podcast. My name is Jason Stanland. I'm the middle school pastor here at Fruit Cove Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. This is a weekly episode ministry designed to help parents who are trying to raise godly children. This week I have Don and Johanna Haneline joining us. They are members of our church, and not too long back they went with me and a group of others to Denver, Colorado on a family mission trip. And so they're here to share a little bit about their story. And thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Sure, happy to be here.
So let's start with an easy question. How many kids do you have and what are their ages?
At last count, we had 3.
Okay, that's good.
15, 12, and 10.
Okay, and what are the genders?
Boy, girl, boy.
Okay, and so you've got everything from elementary, middle school, and high school. Okay, so I'm asking this question for our parents who are listening because there's a lot of them that are probably thinking, okay, we're considering going on a family mission trip, and the top question I always get is, how young is too young or anything like that? What are good ages to go? And so you guys heard it. They've got elementary, middle, and high. They've got all 3 of those, okay? So if you've got one of those, that means you can go. So what made you want to go on a mission trip as a family? Had either of you guys ever gone on one beforehand, just as an individual or a couple or anything like that?
We haven't gone on any mission trips since probably high school, and it's something that we've been talking about doing for quite a while, and just with the timing of our kids, it just kind of hadn't worked out unless we were going to go separately, and that wasn't something we necessarily wanted to do. So when we heard about the family mission trips, we were interested for a while, and then once Blake got old enough, we thought this would be a good time to go because he was 9 at the time, just finished 3rd grade. So we just thought it would be a very good time to go on a family trip.
Cool. And how about you? Had you ever been?
High school, last mission trip I had done, so nothing as an adult.
Okay, and so for the last few years, you guys have been feeling like really want to go, but again, waiting for that right opportunity for your family. So I love that. And so you went during a pandemic. Perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it made sense. So, no, it's wonderful, and I love that our church has continued to go. So how did you guys then decide where you wanted to go? Because we did a big interest meeting. There was Puerto Rico, Denver was there, I think Guatemala, and maybe New York were all different options that day. And so we had parents, it was funny, we were all in one big room and I saw families had split amongst the different locations and some families were going back and forth. So how did God lead you guys to go to Denver?
I had been to Denver in 2018, and I fell in love with the beauty of the creation that was all around us. And in 2018, I told Johanna when I came back, I'm like, we've got to go to Denver. We've got to go to Denver. We've got to go to Denver. And when the trip popped up, I just said, hey, this is our chance. We're going to go to Denver. So,
And what was that like for you? Just be like, okay, let's go. Let's take the kids, not just us or anything like that, but let's just do it all together, right?
Right. I mean, it was definitely something we had been talking about for years. And again, Blake was finally at an age where we felt like he could really participate in a mission trip. So we thought Denver would be just a perfect place to go, and it wasn't something we needed passports for because, again, with the pandemic, we had all let our passports expire. So we knew that wouldn't happen quickly, so we just thought Denver's
And it's very accessible for families, so I like that. All right, so tell us a little bit about what you did as a family, some of the ministries that you guys got to participate with the churches over there.
One that I enjoyed the most was just walking through the neighborhoods, doing prayer walks. And it's something I hadn't done before. And I actually felt a little guilty walking through a neighborhood, 2,000 miles from my own, praying for these strangers when I hadn't done that in my own home. But I enjoyed it. We're walking by and I would talk with the kids and like, hey, I wonder how many people live here. I wonder if they have kids. And we would just pray a prayer as we walk by these houses.
And I like that experience because the kids who were on the trip, oh, look, I see a little playhouse or something. That must mean they have kids. And then they would pray out loud over those kids. So I think it was really good spiritually for our families to experience that. What was one of the things that you enjoyed about the trip?
I mean, I was going to say the prayer walk also, but I think also the block party that we did was just a lot of fun. It was because we had such a varying ages of kids that we brought, high school, middle school, and elementary. Like each of our kids was able to do something different, and yet we're all still serving together. I think Tyler was helping out with some sports and just involved with some of the other kids that were there at the block party and just got to interact well with them. Allison was making popcorn and cotton candy and just able to serve in that way. And then Blake was kind of just, he made a friend and had, he's very good at just, he's an easygoing kid, and so he just loved to play and interact and just have fun with the kids that were there at the block party. So that was just a real fun way for our family to interact together and yet also be able to serve just the whole neighborhood and community
And
that came out.
that day was a lot of work too. I mean,
It
we
was.
got there early and we set up, and it was there. We were on this field in this community, not really knowing who's going to show up, and then we were there really late as well. But they had, I want to say it was like 150 people who were not affiliated with their church at all there in the Thornton community just come out. And so I remember watching, Allison being covered in cotton candy at the end of the night and just had a great time. So real quick, let's go back to what you said about that, you just fell in love with God's creation. I had the privilege of actually being your chauffeur essentially for the week for your family. I'm driving and it's just me, but I've got you guys, and we're going to go up mountains. We're going to go through the valleys and see all these beautiful things. We saw goats, right? We saw the beaver that wasn't a beaver at all. What was it, a marmot or something? Right? Something like that. But it was a long discussion about what it was.
It was a varmint, for sure.
It was a varmint of sorts. And I loved just kind of you saying, oh, look at this and look at what God did. And then your kids are in the back and you're just enjoying that together.
Yeah.
And then you're serving because, that was right after we had just been at the church that was at the foothills. And we helped them set up, we helped them tear down, we worshiped with them. It was a really good experience, I think. So, what were some big takeaways for your family? Like, coming back now, you've been home for a few months. What are some things that you've seen spiritually different about you and your kids and your family dynamic?
For me personally, it's not when's the next one, but where's the next one. I've had a calling to do something internationally. I want to go back to Denver back to Thornton and help them, and so it's not a matter of when the next one is, but how many will the next ones be for me personally. But I think for our kids, going to a different part of the country, seeing a different landscape, meeting different people that they never would have met. We got home. And within 24 hours of being home, Tyler's on his Xbox. I'm like, oh, who are you playing with? And he's like, oh, it's Waves. And Waves was the nickname of one of the pastor's kids out in Colorado. Okay. And I'm like, you're playing Xbox with, and so he made a new friend 2,000 miles away because of the experience.
That's cool.
So I'm excited to see, well, who's the next friend he's going to make? And will their lives ever intersect again? Or will it just be that, hey, this is that, I know this guy in Florida. I met him when his church came out to help my church. So it'll be interesting to see.
That's been good. What do you think?
I think it was just a good experience for our family to get to serve others, but I think it also just made us realize that how much we can still do around our own community and our own neighborhood. Like we said, we never have done a prayer walk in our own neighborhood, and that was something that it's very important just to go and pray for complete strangers. And even when we were there doing the prayer walk, we walked around a school, and we've prayed at our schools before here, but just how important that is. And I think just to remind our kids how we don't have to go far away to serve. We can serve our community right here. And we need to look for ways to do that on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, and it's a both and that we can serve here in our community.
Right.
And that was part of the training that we did the 4 weeks leading up, is that you can serve here in your community, but that God can also take you and that you can serve in places like Denver. And so, real quick, just to talk to our parents who are listening and watching, if you're praying about going on a family mission trip, do it. Wherever that may be, however far that may be. I would say, based on what you guys are telling me and what I've even done with my own family, it's worth it. It's going to be worth every penny.
Yeah.
But also, just start where you're at. It's October, Halloween's coming up. We're actually getting ready to do an episode about how you can invest back into your neighbors, how you can pray over them. Just think about ways that you as a family can be mission-minded, and then when the opportunity comes up, like you guys said, you were kind of waiting for that time, God's going to send you somewhere. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys very much for coming on and sharing your story a little bit. I hope this has been very encouraging to you and to your family about how you can serve the mission of God both here and around the world. If you have any questions about Fruit Cove Baptist Church, please go to our website, fruitcove.com. If you have any emails or anything you'd like to share with us, tell us your story and how God is using this podcast to encourage you and your family. We would love to hear from you. So if you would, just shoot us a quick email, parentlife@fruitcove.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.